Greetings, dear viewer. Thank you so much for joining us once again on yet another episode of Women Engage. My name is Efi Joanna Tieno, and I just want to take this time to welcome you back to the show for our recurring viewers. And for those who are joining us for the first time, welcome to the show. And be sure to check out all our previous episodes so that you can also be blessed and you can also learn about the things that affect women in the 21st century. And we do that at the feet of Jesus. So thank you so much for joining us once again. Today we are talking to our teacher, you know, those who mold the doctors, the lawyers, and fellow teachers and all that. And we're going to have a very interesting discussion. For now, I would just like to have you introduce yourself to our audience and what you do.
Okay. My name is Modesta Nyaga. I'm a trained teacher, high school teacher. And I've been teaching for the last 36 years.
Wow.
36 years. Okay. I was working with the government of Kenya. And starting January 2024, once you attain the mandatory age of 60, you retire. So I'm a retired teacher. And now I'm working on my own projects, including participating in shows like this.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm still stuck at the point where you're 60.
Yes.
How are you 60 and you're wearing heels? My back right now cracks and makes funny sounds and I'm only...
Yeah.
Let's proceed.
Once you work with young ones, there's some infection, some osmosis. You remain young.
You look really good then.
Thank
you so much for joining us today.
Yeah.
And as our teacher, you just want to have a discussion on the role of teachers.
Yeah.
Because there's so much information and misinformation that goes out there on the role of teachers, and there's a lot of blame game that's shifted between parents and teachers in the society because, okay, it's my role as a parent, for example, to parent my child, to train up my child in the way it should go. But there's also the school of thought where children spend averagely most of their young years in school with their teachers than at home, because when they're at home, they're only at home for like, let's say,
3 months
in
a year.
Exactly. And if it's those who are maybe in day school, they're there in the evening, at night, everyone is sleeping. So there's no one-on-one time, but they spend a lot of time with the teachers. So what do you think is the role of teachers as not only teachers, as trainers, as mentors? And I also want to consider teachers as influencers in the society.
Okay. Now, as a teacher is a player in the aspect of education. And education is a process where the learner acquires knowledge, skills, and attitudes. And the teacher is at the center of passing this knowledge, skills, and attitudes. So the teacher is a very, very important person, because once the students, whether they are day school, boarding school, they are brought to school, they are left in the hands of the teacher. The teacher, now, other than just being a teacher, you also, or one plays the role of a parent, because especially for those who are in boarding or even in day school, because even for those who are in day school, once the child has been transferred from the home to the school or to the institution, now the teacher has solely been given this task. And teachers, in fact, teaching, as much as it is a profession, it is a calling. Because it is in teaching whereby you are given these young souls to nurture, to direct, to pass knowledge. And it is not just about knowledge, it is even an aspect of parenting. So it is a job or a profession which, if you do well as a teacher, you get blessings. But of course, as you have said, there are times when there may be challenges and maybe teachers don't live up to the expected standards. Then when you fail to do as a teacher what is expected of you in nurturing these innocent souls, then in a way you are bringing a curse upon yourself. So it is a very, very crucial role. Of course, just like any other profession, just like in any human relationships, there are those who do what is expected. There may be failures, but all in all, teachers play a very important role in the life of a child. Like now, as we are speaking, maybe I can just say something about myself. I went to school in Western Province, Western Province in Kenya, a school called Mukumu Girls, from Form 1 to 6. And our principal was called Sister Rita, and I'm saying was called Sister Rita because because yesterday she slept, she died. And you can see on the walls, the girls are in sorrow, they are mourning because she shaped our life then. I can still remember what she used to say on assembly, especially when she was encouraging the girls to lead pious life, to lead righteous lives. So that, in fact, she used to ask us, now, if you engage in premarital sex at this time, what will you tell your husband? It never used to make sense to me by then. But now, later on, you understand that it was an aspect of molding, not just the teaching, but giving the values, giving the morals, giving that motherly touch. And like now, most of the girls are crying and saying, our mother has rested. Yes.
So actually to them, their teacher was not just a teacher that they interact with in classroom, but that was their mother.
A mother, a mentor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. That's, and I tend to think teachers have been given a huge role, not by society, but by God.
Yes.
Because Christ himself was a teacher. He came here to preach and to teach.
Yeah.
And he did that role. He executed his role perfectly. And how then do you reconcile this? Because teaching is also a calling. I tend to consider teaching like preachers. You're called to do this. Not everyone can be a teacher, and not everyone can be a good teacher. You can be a teacher, but you can't be a good teacher.
Yeah, good teacher is the
those
word.
are two very different things.
Yeah.
You can be a teacher by profession because you went to school and studied education or whatever subject.
Bora mwalimu ama
mwalimu bora.
Yeah, in Kiswahili.
Yes.
Yes.
There's a very big difference. So how then do we reconcile being human? Because like I said, there's a lot of blame trading between parents and teachers. How do we reconcile this God-given task of teaching and molding the minds of a whole generation of people vis-a-vis you're just human? Sometimes you're just doing your best. And you know, when you're a teacher, you don't really have to be optimum. No one knows sometimes the struggles you're going through back at home, the struggles you're going through internally, but you have to show up. So how then do you deal with that so that it doesn't influence your students? Because, you know, sometimes, as we can say in the modern day language, vibe check. You don't pass the vibe check, it transfers.
Those moods whereby the students say, hey, Leo, the teacher today is so moody.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's that aspect. Now, from the Christian perspective, or as an Adventist, there is that advantage that you know that this is a God-given role. And of course, Proverbs 22 verse 6 says, train up a child in the way he should go, and will not turn away from what you've taught this child. So once you realize that this is a God-given role, with our Savior being regarded as the best teacher ever, we have some examples of, other than just passing knowledge, teachers are also mentors. And I just want to mention that in the Bible, Moses mentored Joshua, so that immediately after Moses, Joshua takes over. Elijah mentored Elisha. In the New Testament, we have Paul mentoring Timothy and others. So as much as, of course, you are human, from the Christian perspective, you have an advantage because you have the knowledge that these are God-given creatures who you are determining and guiding in their destiny. So one, as a teacher who knows God, it is something every morning before you start your duties, you pray and ask God to give you the ability to deal with the various students, the different personalities, the heavy load, I just retired last year, and I retired from a national school. I was at Mangu High School for 12 years. And this is a national school which is so demanding, whereby there's so much work. And you see, when the performance is up there, you really need to maintain. There's a lot which goes on. You have to wake up early. You mark throughout your life. In fact, my children were telling me, Mom, at least now you can rest from the marking. So there's so much. And of course, you also have your life at home. You have your children, you have your husband, you have your relatives, you have church activities. So there's that demand for the two. But once you pray to God, and still back at school, you know, there are those guidelines on what is expected of you, irrespective of the challenges or the behavior of the students or the heavy load. Everything, there is a system which is in place, which if you follow the rules, that's why we have the code of conduct, we have what is expected or the regulations in the school. You abide with them, it helps you structure your life and you are able to cope. And when challenges come, there is a mechanism in place or a way of dealing with them. So prayer, rules, and God's grace. Yes, and you are able to balance. Yeah,
because you must strike that balance.
There are times maybe you come from home and you are a bit low because maybe there is an issue which has affected you. You go to school, and by the way, the students are very keen and loving. Incidentally, I've been in a boys' school for a long time, and incidentally, in my house, for a long time, I was the only girl. We are blessed with 4 sons, but 2 of them are now married. Now I have daughters. So I've dealt with the boys, and boys, the way I look at them, of course, I've also taught in a girls' school, like for some years. I also taught in a mixed school. Students are very loving human beings. Once you cultivate that rapport with them, you are friendly, you are human, they will give you a lot of support. And even when you go and you feel you seem to be a bit low, they will ask, Mwalimu, what's up today? You don't look happy. Or you walk in and you're looking smart, and they will say, wow, Mwalimu, hey. So they make your life, even if you have a challenge, you refocus and you remember what you're supposed to do, and it continues. And of course, the joy of it, like the students I was teaching my last years, they are very bright students. They do well, as much as, of course, there are some who struggle, but they motivate you. They are active. They make you love the work.
What you do.
And they keep you on your toes.
That's
and you learn a lot from them. Yes.
Okay. Wow. It's like you're telling me to go back and be a teacher.
Please. you can juggle. I know you are in the legal field.
Yeah.
But you can still interact.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I that's actually where I thought my career would end up, like me teaching law in universities.
You have that
we
option.
We shall see. I still have time.
Yeah, you are young.
So there's one thing with teachers, and I feel like for me this is like a superpower.
Yeah.
Children have diverse personalities.
Yes.
Even in the home, your children will not be the same. Now you can imagine you're dealing with 4 different personalities.
Yes.
When you're in class, you're dealing with 50 or 100 or even just 30.
Yeah.
How do you deal with the different personalities of your students?
Okay, now personality, maybe if I would just define it, it is some characteristics that a person has which give him or her some uniqueness. Now when we are talking about personality, of course we have the general, the sanguine, the melancholy and the rest, but let me just go to the simpler aspect whereby you have the extroverts and the introverts. And then out of these introverts and extroverts, of course the introverts are those students who are withdrawn, they are shy, they are quiet. And then we also have those ones who are outgoing, the ones who their hands will always be up, they always have an opinion. So those are the extroverts. But out of these general ones, generally you find that in a school situation, you may have students who are very smart academically, and then you have some who are very social, they are all over. You may have some who are very shy, generally quiet. You may have some who are bullies, okay? So generally, maybe I can just say, maybe we can talk about those who are attention seekers, those who want to answer all questions and their hand is always up. There are those who are inattentive, in that you are teaching and they are busy chatting with their friends, and sometimes that is because they are bored. Maybe what you are teaching is they are not getting it, or it is too easy, they have already gotten it and they are wondering what you are still belaboring. So they wanajipatia shughuli, okay, they give themselves, they keep themselves busy. I've just remembered this may for Kiswahili not okay. So they may be inattentive. Then we may have those students who are unprepared. Those who never complete the assignment, they come to class late, they will look for every excuse to miss exams. Then there are those who are disrespectful, those who are rude. Now for each of these, there is a manner in which you can deal with them. Like the ones who want to talk throughout and their hands are up, it is good. They are attentive, they want to listen. But you can give them a chance, but when it becomes too much such that the others are not getting an opportunity, when you ask the next question, you don't give this one a chance first. You let the others answer, and sometimes this one will complain, Mwalimu, my hand has been up and you have not given me a chance. Of course, you will explain, let's give everybody a chance. And this is a student who later you can call one-on-one and tell her, I really appreciate your effort. I like the way you contribute. You are always ready to talk. So, but we also need to consider others. Or you can even give him or her extra work so that you can do to cater for that. And there are some who appreciate, they like that extra challenge. They're very smart students. Then there are those who are not attentive. Those who are not attentive means they are bored, for example, or they are not understanding. Maybe you explain further, you can ask what the challenge is, if at all they will tell you the truth, or you change the method of teaching. Okay, so maybe let's go into groups, discuss this, or now this is what I'm talking about, can everybody make a summary of what I'm talking about? So you can vary that method. Then there are those who are never prepared. These are the ones now you have to deal, because there are rules in school. So you deal with them. For example, if they have not done the assignment, maybe there's a punishment which follows, or even before the punishment, maybe it is important to find out why is this student having a challenge. Some of these are also seeking attention. They may be having a challenge and they want to be talked to. So they are looking for any excuse to draw your attention. That is why they are behaving like that. Or if they are so bored, or I mean they are unprepared ones, or they miss exams, or they are the ones who maybe will copy from others. As much as, of course, you may rebuke the student in front of the others, of course with love, so that there is no embarrassment, one-on-one later, you find out what is happening in the life of this child. And you may find some students are going through a lot, so much. And sometimes when you try to walk with them, you find that they calm down and even they perform better and even relax in class. I'm talking about a student who had a challenge, who seemed to be so distracted in class. One time I took time to talk to this student, and I realized this is a student whose parents had run away from home. They were left just in a town and they were picked by somebody. So with the siblings, even coming to that school, somebody just offered to pay fees. So he was worrying about the brothers and something. So you try to help this student cope. So all those differences, and the very disrespectful ones, the bullies, there are rules. It is something which can even be handled by a higher office, maybe the discipline team or the counseling team. Counseling works. Although sometimes for some behaviors, not only counseling, they have to face consequences
and then get counseling. You know, now it's now sinking in why some of my teachers in high school would give me extra work. I'm watching them.
You are smart.
I was one of those. I was always had my hand, even in university. I think that's just nature. And now that you're saying it, I'm actually looking back. I'm like, yeah, they knew how to deal with that. Effie, there's this extra poetry work. I need it. I'm like, okay, okay. Thank you so much for that. That was very elaborate. That was very elaborate. Now there's something that most teachers, we do not get to hear your side of the story about some of the challenges you get to face while in the course of duty, while dealing with people's children, because everyone comes from their home with different baggage, and of course it's like you're carrying all this weight, especially when you get to talk to some of these students who are maybe problematic in class and get to hear their stories. You have so much to deal with. How do you deal with that, and how do you just keep yourself mentally safe, for lack of a better word, so that it doesn't affect your job?
Now, in the land or in the field of counseling, for the time I was in school, I also happened to be in the guidance and counseling department. Once there's an aspect of something called debriefing, whereby after you've listened to so much from the students, you're supposed to go and at least pour out to a fellow counselor, or just share without releasing, without betraying or breaking confidentiality. So there's a way you can share, or there are times when what the students share is really heavy. I'm telling you, by the time you are finishing a session, you are so drained because you empathize. You know, because you are human. As the students is relieving what they are going through, especially at home, families have issues. There are children who are in school, but like there's one who told me the father just hates him. He can buy all the other things and he leaves him. So he was just wondering, what is it? What have I done? And you look at this boy and he's so, in fact, you look at him, he's almost going into depression because that thing eats him up. He has asked the mother cannot explain. Of course, you can ask, there's a story there, but you know you can't tell him. So sometimes it can be so draining, as you're saying. Like I remember I was in a boys' school, a mixed school, where a girl shared about her. She was a victim of rape. And this day she comes and she tells me she doesn't want to sit with the boy, because we used to pair them, boy, girl. This time she tells me she doesn't want to sit with that boy and she doesn't want to see any boy near. So I ask, what has happened? You have been sitting. So it happened that day, let me call it anniversary. It was the anniversary of the rape day. Because it said sometimes when that time of the month comes, when that happened, it comes as if it is fresh. So, and unfortunately, she had not opened up to the father. She was living with the father. The mother was living very far. She never opened up to the father, and it is something which had been eating her. So she narrates the story, and you know, you empathize, and it is so heavy. That is just one of them. Of course, she went through counseling. We had to go to the VCT for her to do some tests silently. Yes, so I'm saying there's a lot, but what you do, you relieve, and as much as possible, as much as of course you try to not to internalize, to carry that baggage, but it is there. So one is through debriefing, where you share, and of course once the session is over, you try to disengage. Although it is human to carry that baggage, but you try to disengage, so that now that contract has ended, now you are moving to other things. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
As I was bringing up our 4 sons, we happened to be, at least I had an advantage. The schools were not very far in the primary school, and I used to check on them so much closely. And I remember the teachers really used to appreciate. They were saying, if all parents would be like you, it would really help. But of course I had the advantage of proximity, but still you can go out of your way to monitor, because it will tell you when the child is improving, dropping, and the reason. Because some children go through bullying, there is that influence, there's the issue of cults, there's the issue of pornography. That close monitoring, to be in touch with the teachers. Yeah,
oh
it
my
can
God,
help.
thank you so much. We could go on and on. We could go on and on. But thank you so much, Modesta. Thank you for that's wise counsel. And if there are parents out there listening, then this is something they should take away from this conversation. So thank you once again, dear viewer, for joining us and for listening with us throughout this conversation. I mean, it's been quite informative, and I have learned a lot throughout this conversation. And teachers are an underrated blessing in our society, because when children are away from us as the parents, they're with their teachers, and we should really learn to appreciate that aspect. But also at home, as a parent, you are a teacher to your children. In fact, you're the first God-given teacher to your children. So take that role as seriously as you take parenting. I wouldn't want to add anything or take away so that I don't dilute this, but thank you so much for being with us. We hope to see you again. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. We hope to see you for the subsequent episodes. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share with your friend, because this is information that should be spread across. Be sure to also check us out on our social media pages. That is Hope Media Network, ECD, on all social media platforms. And on TV, you can find us on Hope Channel. Thank you once again. That's all from us. Goodbye.